Welcome, Husker fans, to Big Red Radio, the Husker Talk Show. I am your host, Caleb Jenneret. Next to me is Zack Jenneret, my co-host. Before we get started, stop what you're doing. Comment down below who is going to be the next coach of Nebraska. I know it's pretty early to say, and I know some of you are even getting annoyed, as I saw in the Facebook groups that we posted in, but that was pretty fun. But yeah, comment down below who you think is going to be the next Nebraska coach. Unrealistic, realistic, doesn't matter. I just want to see what you guys have to say. And also subscribe, like the channel, or subscribe to the channel, like the video, hit the bell so you don't miss another episode. This is the only episode of the week, as it was a bye week, and we decided to take some time off in the beginning, and we had other stuff going on too. Just didn't work out. So this will be out on Friday, and it is our coaching tier list video, as you saw from the thumbnail. And before we start, follow all the socials. They're going to pop up on your screen right now. They're also going to be linked in the description. But yeah, super excited to get in this video. Zach, you got anything before we get started?
Not really. Just excited to be back to Husker sports. Putting the Oklahoma game behind us. Didn't even do a video on it because not worthy.
Yeah, I mean, we thought about it and we're like, what are we even going to say? And we kind of did a wrap up at the end of our vlog. If you guys watched that, I did a short little wrap up on it. So that was pretty much all I needed to say. It wasn't very fun, but it was fun going to the game and vlogging it and going to Big Noon Kickoff. That was super fun. And I really liked recording that and editing it and putting it together. So hopefully we can do that more often if the right time comes around. But let's just get right into our tiers. So as you can see, we have 5 different tiers. We got the home run hire, drinking the Kool-Aid, solid, Scott Frost 2.0, and then just why. And we have 19 coaches listed. Just took a bunch, just random. I don't even think we included all the ones that have been rumored. Maybe we even included some that aren't being currently rumored, but just makes sense to us. And this is not a super serious video on like, this is our number one guy. We don't want this guy, because I think there's a lot of season to be played. And there's a lot of coaches that could maybe their stock could go up, and a lot of coaches that their stock could get lower. So we're just doing this because it's a lot of people are talking about it right now, and we want to give our opinions on it a little bit and have some fun with it as well. So just getting right into it. First coach, Bill O'Brien. Zach, where do you think Bill O'Brien should go?
So I just want to go on like how I'm just going to start off and let everyone know how I'm ranking my tiers so that they don't come at me. All right. So home run hires for me are people that not only would it be the best hire possible, but it's also someone that they have no reason to leave where they are now. Like they have no reason to come here other than straight up maybe win, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kool-Aid. These are guys that are my top of the top hires. I would be like, okay, like, this program's getting flipped right away, and they have a reason to be, right?
Yeah.
Solid. Like it says, I'd be like, okay, that's a solid hire. We might, get somewhere with that. We might be 8-4, 9-3 for the rest of our lives with that.
Yeah.
Scott Frost 2.0. These are ones that I feel like people are super high on, but I think will eventually be not good at all. And then the why is just like, why are we even entertaining this offer?
Sure. Yeah, I think the why is pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, for me, the home run is like, yeah, these are the guys that are obviously you should try to hire these guys, right? Kool-Aid is, I think, the best realistic options is what I'm thinking. Solid is like, okay, that's fine. Like, it'll probably be a little bit, but eventually we'll get back to, competing a little bit, having these games. Scott Frost 2.0 to me is just a guy that's getting a lot of hype, but is not really proven. Like when Scott Frost came, he was proven. He went 17-0, but honestly, I think he got a lot more hype than he probably deserved. Maybe, I don't know how to word that. And then why? Yeah, like Zach said, it's just why even entertain it? So yeah, let's just get right into it. Bill O'Brien, offensive coordinator for Alabama. Zach, where do you want to put him?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna put this guy in. Let's see in the Kool-Aid. Crazy enough,
Really?
I feel like there is reasons for him leaving. Obviously, he's an offensive coordinator right now, and getting a head coaching job. He's going to make more money. He's going to be able to be the head of something. And we've seen before, he's able to coach in the tough situations, right? So after the Sandusky incident at Penn State, he was able to go in there and go 8-4 and 7-5. Then he was able to go to the NFL and succeed there as well. Also been told he's a great recruiter at Alabama. And so I feel like he kind of meets all the cuts as something that we want. And I don't see a reason why not. He has no like baggage or anything to bring along with him. Has never really had a super bad season, has never been proven to be a bad coach. So yeah, I think this would be a great hire. And someone who's coached in tough situations before, so this would not be his first time coaching in what they call kind of a pressure cooker of a program.
Yeah, no, I like Bill O'Brien a lot. I think a lot of people are weighing on his final few months, final year in the NFL, where he was like the GM, also making some questionable moves. But if he comes to Nebraska, that's not like, he's not going to be the GM, right? He's just going to get his guys that he wants. It's not like he's trading anybody away. And he has been proven as a solid head coach, a really good college head coach, and he even had some really good years in the NFL. So I don't doubt that he could coach at all. And I think he would be a really good hire. Honestly, I kind of bounce back and forth between solid and Kool-Aid just because he hasn't coached college in a while. So I'd be interested to see what he would do. And like the last time he coached, transfer portal wasn't a thing like the way it is now. So I think it'd be a little bit different, but he does have that experience where he's at right now at Alabama. So not too worried about that. But yeah, I agree. I think Kool-Aid is a good spot to put him. Chris Klieman, I'll start on this one. I'm going to put him in the solid. He came from North Dakota State. Which, I mean, if you coach at North Dakota State, you're going to do well. It's the Alabama of FCS, and you're always going to get the best guys. And at K-State, he's been good. He's made, I think he's made these solid recruiting classes. Nothing to write home about. No top 25, maybe not even top 5 in the Big 12 in his conference. But he's made it work, and it looks like he's a solid, like 9-3, 8-4 kind of coach. Just hasn't really proven that he can be that top level coach. So that I would like it. I wouldn't mind it at all. But definitely not my number one choice.
This screams Scott Frost 2.0 to me.
Really?
I mean, you look, he went overall 69-6 at North Dakota State, which, by the way, actually in 2005 he coached my rival Loras College up here in Iowa, which is pretty crazy. But from 2014 to 2018, he went 69-6 at North Dakota State. Don't know if you know this or not. If you're going 69-6, not hard to get recruits, especially at the FCS level. They're not going to go anywhere else, especially in North Dakota. Again, they're not going to go anywhere else. Also, it's not hard to win 8 games a season at K-State. They've been doing it for 40 years. Over and over and over again, they're 7-6 or 8-5. It's just who they are. And so, what has he really proven? He was kind of handed the North Dakota State job. They were really good when he got him. Then he was handed an average K-State job. They're still average. So what has he done, right? And that's just kind of what I think on that. So I do not want this guy. If he went down there and turned around Adrian Martinez, maybe I would, but he doesn't. All right, Adrian Martinez is still the same Adrian Martinez down there. He still runs the same thing. I don't want that at all.
Yeah, no, you definitely convinced me. That's actually really true, because it's not like he built a program or anything. I mean, Bill Snyder built that program, and he's just maintaining it. So
Exactly.
yeah, I think Scott Frost 2.0 is pretty good, actually.
Yeah, and then us coming from Kansas, actually, we know if you're a high-level recruit in Kansas, you're going to K-State.
Right.
Right.
Maybe
if you're staying in state, especially recently, maybe not now, but in the history of Kansas football, you're going to K-State if you're a recruit, right? And so you're gonna get all the really good Kansas guys. Arkansas kids that aren't good enough to go in the SEC, you're gonna get all those guys. Oklahoma guys aren't good enough to go to those two programs. Like, you're gonna recruit all the 3-stars from all around you. And you're just going to be 8-5 and 7-6 for the rest of your life. And that's just what K-State football is. And they just go win or lose a bowl game every year, and their fans are happy.
That's true. Yeah. K-State fans seem like they're okay with a little bit of mediocrity.
Yeah. And I'm not. And I don't want that.
Sure. Yeah. You convinced me. Scott Frost 2.0. Before we go any further, I forgot. I put out a question on a lot of the Facebook groups, telling me your favorite coach that isn't being mentioned enough, and my favorite answer was definitely Hugh Freeze, who's currently the head coach at Liberty. He did not make the tier list, but shout out to whoever put Hugh Freeze in the comments. Your name will pop up right here, and it'll say, so shout out to you for answering the question. Going to try to do that more often. I think it's really, really fun to get you guys involved and see what you guys have to think. Okay, but moving on. Dan Mullen, very interesting one. I'll let you start.
So I also put this guy in Scott Frost 2.0. Mississippi State, right? 33 and 39. I get it's hard, it's the SEC and everything, whatever. Cool. He goes to Florida. He's clearly handed a good Florida team in 2018 and 2019, going 10-3 and 11-2. 2020, he goes 8-4. 2021, he goes 5-6. Right?
Then he got fired. Yeah.
Then he got fired. Back in the day, I remember Florida being, the best of the best. I now know Florida as one of the bottom feeders of the SEC, starting to climb back up.
I wouldn't say bottom feeders. Definitely wouldn't say bottom.
Maybe not bottom feeders. Not bottom feeders, but mid-tier SEC, right? Starting to climb their way, and they are climbing their way back up. But they used to be a contender with Georgia and Bama. I mean, they used to be one of the names out there, and they're not anymore. And so why would we hire a guy that is essentially drug a program down, right? And now he's just an analyst.
Yeah, he doesn't even have a coaching job. I think that's why he's getting rumored the most, is because he's like a coaching free agent at this point. But yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. He hasn't proven really anything. He took over a talented Florida team and did well. I mean, as we know, Scott Frost was actually Florida's first coach, or first choice to take over the program. And then obviously he chose Nebraska. So that happened. But yeah, so Dan Mullen stepped in and did well. And then, kind of just fell off into mediocrity for a little bit, and they could see where it was going. So they got rid of him, hired Billy Napier, who looks like a good coach so far. So I definitely agree with Scott Frost 2.0 for Dan Mullen. So moving on now to Chris Peterson, another coaching free agent, last coached at Washington. Before that was very dominant at Boise State. Guess it's my turn to take it away. This one was kind of tough for me because he did well. He did well at Boise State, was good at Washington, won the Pac-12 North numerous times, even reached the college football playoff once. But he has been out of coaching for a while. It's between these two for me. I am going to go solid. I think he'd be solid. Washington was always a solid program. They just got rid of Chris Peterson because it was solid. It wasn't anything special. So I think solid is actually the perfect place for him. I would be excited if he came in, but I think I would be more excited for some guys that are going to end up in these top 2 tiers.
Yeah, I also put him in solid. The only thing that separated me from home run and solid here, obviously he went 92-12 at Boise State, 55-26 at Washington. Never had a losing season at either program, so really good. Obviously, Boise State's not an easy program to do good at. You're not, in a good place to recruit. You're not in a good conference, so not the easiest place. But goes to Washington 8-6, 7-6, and he goes 12-2, 10-3, and 10-4. Good run. He even makes the Rose Bowl in this last year. Well, I guess his second to last year. In 2019, he went 8-5. They won the Las Vegas Bowl. And so he's always solid. But like I said, the only thing that really holds me back here is he hasn't coached since 2019.
Yeah.
And so much has changed. And he's always coached on the East Coast or the West Coast. And so I don't know. I just feel like it's hard to bring a Midwestern guy in that hasn't coached in the Midwest or in the Big Ten.
Yeah, no, I think definitely a big thing with at least my mindset is I think Big Ten experience goes a long way in a lot of these coaches. Obviously, not all of the home run coaches or not all the Kool-Aid coaches I have are going to be home run coach or Big Ten level, like Big Ten experience is what I'm trying to say. But I think Big Ten experience, SEC experience goes a long way. So, yeah, I think solid's a perfect place for Chris Peterson. Moving on to Gus Malzahn. Zach, go ahead and take this away. Former Auburn head coach, took over the UCF program that Scott Frost left behind.
Yeah, I actually have this in the why.
Okay.
Yeah, sure, he did all right at Auburn. He had some flashes. He beat Alabama a couple times, actually. And so that's something that not a lot of people have done. But at the same time, he was 67-35 there. He had 2 good years. Other than that, it was, it was all right. At UCF, he's gone 9-4 with a team that probably could have gone 12-2. And so far he's 2-1 this year. So I don't know why I would even. This isn't Scott Frost 2.0, but it's, I don't even know why we get hyped about this one.
No, I think it's the only reason it's not Scott Frost 2.0 for me is because he's proven what he is, and he's a solid coach. I think he's a solid group of 5 coach at this point in his career. So yeah, I don't see the reason to entertain it unless literally nobody wants to come to Nebraska, which I just don't believe is going to happen. There's too much money, and if we're going to our last resort, then I see Gus Malzahn name coming up a lot, but nothing against him. Solid coach. Yeah, but I just don't see the reason to entertain him. Next up, Jamey Chadwell from Coastal Carolina. Man, this is another one. Like, to a lot of people, this is screaming Scott Frost 2.0. Like, one of the best group of 5 coaches out there, had undefeated seasons, did well, had a great offense. But he doesn't have that Power 5, experience. And that is really tough and be really tough, I think, to get Nebraska fans to get behind this because we just saw what happened when we hired a guy with no experience, no Power 5 experience. So I do think he's a really good coach, and I do think he deserves a Power 5 job. I just think the pressure that comes with a job at Nebraska might be too much for him, and we might see a repeat of Scott Frost. So, as much as I like him, this isn't a ranking or anything, but I'm going to put him at the top of Scott Frost 2.0, but just because I think I could be persuaded to put him in the solid. It's just too much similarity between him and Scott Frost for me.
Yeah, same thing for me. Coastal Carolina is the highest level he has coached at, and he obviously flipped that around. 3-7 his first year, all the way up to like 11-1 last year, and so he's obviously flipped around and done a great job. But like you said, right now you need someone that's battle tested to come into this program and coach, because one slip up and these fans are going to be on you. And I hate to say that, it's not something I like, but it's true.
It's
and
true.
So I don't think that this is a good fit for him. I'll just say that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, I hope he gets a Power 5 job, because I think he's done enough to deserve it, but I just don't think Nebraska's the right place for him. Now, this has been a hot name in a lot of talks. Lance Leipold. Zach, take it. You go first.
Yeah, I have him solid.
Okay.
He did really good at his former school at University of Wisconsin Whitewater. That's a D3 powerhouse. Also, for people that don't know D3 football, it is really easy to recruit to Wisconsin Whitewater because they have about 15 or 20,000 people in their school, whereas 95% of all other D3s have about 3,000 to 5,000 kids in their school. Even less than that. Mine actually has like 2,000. And so it's a lot easier to recruit there because it looks like a bigger school. You guys have championships. He then went to Buffalo, 5-7, 2-10, 6-6, had a 10-4 season, 8-5, and then 6-1 in the COVID year, and then 2-10 last year at KU, but beat Texas, and then 3-0 so far. I like it. I actually watched him. I like how he coaches. I like the trick plays he kind of throws in. And I think if Trevor Purdy 6th round and AJ Allen 6th round, he could use those two and have a really, really good offense with those guys and the receivers, obviously, that would be coming in and sticking around as well. But I'm going to put him in solid. I don't have the Kool-Aid just quite coming out of him, what it looks like, just because he hasn't really proven anything extraordinary yet. He proved something at the D3 level, but at the Power 5 level, he hasn't proved anything extraordinary yet.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Lance Leipold is a guy that's known to turn programs around. He went to Buffalo, horrible program. And you see it now. They're back to being a horrible program. And he turned that around to a consistently 8-win, 6-win, as you mentioned, just solid program. And now he comes to KU, which was one of the, if not the worst Power 5 program for football. And he's turned that around, now 3-0. I would slow down a little bit on Lance Leipold. He right now I would keep him in the solid. But if he takes this KU team to a bowl game, I'm going to say he would move up into the Kool-Aid tier. Absolutely. For sure. This KU team is looking really good right now, but yeah, he hasn't really, he definitely hasn't proven it 100%. I expect him to do well. And I actually do expect KU to make a bowl game this year, but as of right now, he has not proven enough. And especially with his comments recently, it's seeming like he's not really keen on the idea of coming to Nebraska. But I mean, you can't really take anything from right now anyway. Nobody's going to say, yes, I'm interested. Right. So yeah, it's kind of tough to judge that right now, but I think solid is a good place for him now with the potential to move up to Kool-Aid by the end of the year. So next, this guy, I love this guy. And you'll hear me talk about him. Luke Fickell is in the home run for me. Luke Fickell is a guy that has brought this Cincinnati program into looking like a Power 5 program. It's still a Group of 5 program for now. They're moving in the Big 12, whatever. They're good. They're a Power 5 program in my eyes. They're good enough to compete with Power 5 top 10 teams. They competed with Arkansas at the beginning of the year, even though they lost maybe their best 2 players with Sauce Gardner and Desmond Ridder last year. Still can compete with a top 10 Arkansas team, and he's proven that he can turn around a program, and he has that Big 10 experience as he coached at Ohio State, defensive coordinator at Ohio State. The reason I have it in home run is because I don't I mean, it's tough to see him leaving Cincinnati for anything but the Ohio State job. And it's tough because last year I 100% think he was offered the Notre Dame job, turned it down, which, I mean, not officially, but I think he turned it down. Officially turned down the Michigan State job to stay at Cincinnati. So it's tough to see him coming to Nebraska, especially in the way that Nebraska is right now. But spoiler alert, he's my number one guy. I love Luke Fickell, and if he was available at this moment, he would be the number one guy I'd be going after.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that makes sense, and I agree with that. I put him in the Kool-Aid personally because I think there is reason for him to leave. I mean, I don't know what Cincinnati's paying him, but I know we can pay him more. I don't know what a home game looks like at Cincinnati, but I know it looks better in Lincoln. I don't know what the fans do when you win in Cincinnati, but I know they do a lot when you win in Lincoln. I just feel like he's got a lot more potential to have a lot better legacy and a lot bigger name in Lincoln. And I just don't see him getting the Ohio State job anytime soon because Ryan Day is not going to leave.
He might. I mean, there's rumors that he might go to the NFL. Is the only thing.
Because at this point, I mean, that used to be the big thing. You know, get really good in college as a coach and go to the NFL. But now, if you're really good in college, especially Ryan Day level, you're making more than some of those NFL coaches. And so why would you leave, you know, and then go have, I mean, we saw with Urban Meyer, some guys just aren't built for the NFL. Nick Saban wasn't built for the NFL. And he's arguably, you know, him and Tom Osborne, best college coaches of all time. And they just weren't built for the NFL. And so
yeah,
I do see reason for him leaving. And so that's why I have him.
Sure. And I understand that, but I think whatever Nebraska could pay him, I have no doubt that Notre Dame offered it to him last year.
Yeah, but no, I mean, Urban Meyer has coached in the greatest of greatest places. He's coached anywhere and everywhere. He's coached national championship game. And he said, this is the best fan environment and fan base environment I've ever seen.
Yeah. And we'll get to Urban Meyer. He is on this list, spoiler alert. But yeah, I'm going to leave him in home run. But
no,
yeah,
that's fair.
Home run and Kool-Aid are kind of the same thing. I just think home run is that next level. Like, you hire this guy, like, these are the top candidates. And I'm not under the impression right now that a top coaching candidate, I don't think Nebraska is a top tier destination. You know what I mean? You don't have Power 5 coaches just leaving to come to Nebraska. Not all the time. There's definitely some situations that we'll see in these coaches that I do think it's realistic. But it's just not the tier 1 program it used to be. But yeah, I could see a world where Luke Fickell does want to get paid more. I just have a tough time seeing after all the stuff that he's turned down, I have a tough time seeing him be open to Nebraska, but I hope so. Obviously, as I said, he's my number one guy. But we'll just see. So next up, Mark Stoops. Zach, I know you probably want to talk about this, so go for it.
Yeah, this is my guy. Mark Stoops, I mean, why would you not want this guy? He has flipped over. He's almost turned Kentucky into a football school, essentially. Like, this is ridiculous. I have him in Kool-Aid, and here's why. I have him in Kool-Aid and not in home run because I don't think our fans are going to give him the patience that Kentucky did. In his first 3 years, he ain't get a winning season. 2-10, 5-7, and 5-7. If he did that in Nebraska, he's gone. He is immediately gone. They are not going to settle for a guy to rebuild this program for 4 or 5 years again. I think they should, but they're not going to, which sucks. 2016-17, he went 7-6. If he goes 2-10, 5-7, 5-7, and 7-6, he is gone. Promise you, he is gone if he comes here. Then he finally gets it. He goes 10-3, 8-5, 10-3, and 3-0 right now. He's in Kool-Aid because I feel like, why would you not leave Kentucky? You're never going to win an SEC title. I'm sorry. You could be the best Kentucky team of all time, and you're not going to beat Georgia. You're not going to beat Alabama. You're probably, I mean, I guess he did beat Florida this year, but on a consistent basis, I don't know that you're going to beat Florida. And then you got all the other good teams, A&M, Arkansas, right? Like, you're going to have good team after good team that you're going to have to beat every week. Come to the Big Ten. The Big Ten West is currently losing every game to an FCS opponent almost. Another reason, like I said, Kentucky is not a football school. They're a basketball school and will probably always be a basketball school. Nebraska, I don't know if you get more football than this, other than maybe Alabama. I mean, the entire state centers around it. And then he's proven that he can coach a defense. This Kentucky defense is ridiculous. It's something we need. And then, I mean, that's going to help you in the Big Ten as well. And I think we're going to be able to pay him more on that side as well. I don't know why he wouldn't leave. I get it's been 10 years at Kentucky, which is another reason maybe, you want to get out of there. It's been 10 years and they still don't respect you more than their basketball program. And so Mark Stoops is in the Kool-Aid, and I honestly hope they hire this guy. If they don't hire this guy, if they don't put every offer on the table for this guy, then they're idiots.
Yeah, so Zach really likes Mark Stoops. I like him too. He's a good coach. But yeah, I mean, I do think it's realistic because, yeah, he's in the SEC and he really doesn't have a shot to win the SEC, in my opinion. We'll see how this year goes. They haven't lost yet, so you can't say it's out of the possibility. But, yeah, you got to go against Alabama. You got to go against Georgia. You got to go Florida. You got to go against all the top teams. And I think he's reached his peak at Kentucky. And something tells me, I hope he knows that he has reached his peak. I hope he knows that too. And yeah, I would love to see Nebraska hire him. The only problem I have is it did take him a little bit. And I think with Nebraska, it has been shown that results matter, especially early results. The only reason, and I think everybody knows this, the only reason Scott Frost stayed so long and got so many chances is because his name is Scott Frost and because he played at Nebraska, played for Tom Osborne, a part of one of the greatest teams in Nebraska history. Just everybody wanted it to work. And I don't think Mark Stoops is going to get that kind of leash. And if he does struggle like he did at Kentucky for the first few years, I think they're just going to cut ties. And I think that I don't know how we can expect him to just come in and have results right away when we haven't seen that at Kentucky. So I'd love to hire. He's proven to be a good coach. If you can have winning seasons in the SEC, especially the SEC East, I believe, which is a tough division, you're a good football coach. So Mark Stoops is good for me and he's realistic. So yeah, Kool-Aid is good for me. Next up, who we got? Matt Rhule. I'll start with Matt Rhule. I'm going to put Matt Rhule Kool-Aid higher for me. Matt Rhule has had so much success in college, turned around Temple's program, turned around Baylor's program. I just realized we missed somebody that's not on here. Dave Aranda is not on this list. But Matt Rhule has won in every single place he's been except for the NFL. Which we're going to get to another guy that's won in every place he's been except for the NFL. And I think it's just a different game. So I think Matt Rhule would be a good hire for Nebraska. I just don't know. It just depends on how the Carolina does this year and if he sticks around or gets fired. But I like Matt Rhule a lot.
Yeah, personally, I have Matt Rhule in home run. He's turned around dang near he's pretty much Urban Meyer, but not Urban Meyer, right? He's not that level yet, but he's done the same thing. He's turned around every program he's went to, except for the NFL. I don't see him leaving the NFL this year. The Carolina Panthers are not terrible. They just got Baker. I don't see him leaving this year.
I don't think he would leave. That's the thing. I don't think he would leave the NFL, but the Panthers are 0-2 and he's on the hot seat already. So I think there's a chance that he could get fired this year. And then, yeah, I do think he comes back to college after that, unless he wants a coordinator job in the NFL. But I don't know. Yeah, I agree. I think Matt Rhule is in home run. I think he's on the level of the home run. So I'm fine to switch him there. Next up, who do we got? Mickey Joseph. Zach, take it away on Mickey Joseph.
Yeah. So the only reason this guy
Where did he go?
Scott Frost 2.0 and he's in solid for me is because I don't know if you know his brother, but Mickey's brother is the defensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals right now. And I feel like if Mickey were to be hired and kept, I feel like we would keep Mark Whipple. Obviously, we need a defensive coordinator. Who's better than your own brother? Bring him down from the NFL, pay him a little more down here, and fix this defense. And so, yeah, his connection and then his recruiting ability is the only reason he's in solid, not Scott Frost 2.0 for me. Him as a head coach, I do not think he is ready for this level. I don't. Mm-hmm. He's not battle tested. He's not prepared. But his recruiting and his connections are elite, and that's why he's in solid form.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Connections and recruiting. He played at Nebraska, which makes me feel Scott Frost 2.0, but I would put him in solid. He's proven that he's well-spoken at these press conferences. He cares about Nebraska. He cares about the program. He wants to win, but yeah, he hasn't proven anything. He doesn't have that experience that these other guys have. And that's the only thing for me. If he does well enough to keep it, I think to keep his job, he's got to make a bowl game and win a bowl game. And then maybe he keeps his job. You know, it's going to take a lot for him to keep his job. So I don't think it's very realistic to expect him to keep his job as head coach. But if he did, I'd be fine with it. The guy cares about Nebraska. He's one of the top recruiters in the nation. As you said, he's got connections. So if he does enough, I'm fine with it. But I think this should be like a last resort kind of thing, honestly. Unless, I mean, yeah, I keep saying it. Unless he does enough. Moving on now to Pat Narduzzi from Pitt. Pat Narduzzi is going in solid for me. He's good. He's all right. He's like another Bo Pelini in kind of his demeanor, kind of his coaching style. He's always had solid teams at Pitt, and he's had great players at Pitt. With Aaron Donald, went to Pitt. Kenny Pickett in last year's draft went to Pitt. Yeah, just solid. I think he hasn't really done anything spectacular. Won the ACC last year, but before that, obviously Clemson runs that conference. So I think it'd just be solid. Nothing to get too excited about, but I think if we swing and miss on some of these top guys, even like a Leipold, yeah, I think Pat Narduzzi is a good backup option.
I personally have him in Y, because he's not good enough for home run, but he's not going to leave Pitt. He has nothing to leave Pitt for other than to reunite with Mark Whipple, and he may not want Mark Whipple. He may not even want Mark Whipple to stay, and so I don't see why he would even entertain this offer.
Well, the thing, he would get paid more. That's 100% because it's Big Ten money versus ACC money. So,
yeah, I get that, but he's doing fine where he is, and he hasn't peaked at Pitt yet. Yeah. He's still got so much more to do. I don't see him do that.
Yeah,
but I think solid.
Yeah, it's solid. I think he's just solid. I think that's what he is. Next up, PJ Fleck. Zach, take it away on PJ Fleck.
I have him in solid.
Okay.
He's not bad, but he's not great. He's kind of an odd dude.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's what we really need, but sure, he's a good coach. He's obviously succeeded. It's kind of up and down though with him, especially in Minnesota. You're either going to have a great win or a terrible loss. In the year they went 11-2, I am pretty sure, or no, 9-4. The year they went 9-4, they lost to an FCS team. Very bad. But then went on to also like beat Wisconsin or something.
Right.
And so it's up and down with him. It's not consistent. And that's something that you see actually all through his career. It's not consistent. It's up and down. I haven't been solid. I'd be okay with it. He's also from Minnesota. I don't really, why would we hire, No, someone did say it'd really show the Big Ten where Nebraska sits in the pecking order if we took a, West Rivals coach. But he's solid for me.
Yeah, it's between Y and solid for me. Like all the stuff that came out about him, this offseason about like none of the players really liked him. But he's proven that he's a decent coach at least. He's gonna win some games. He can always keep Minnesota in the race for the Big Ten West. So yeah, I think he'd be solid. Nothing crazy. I don't think he'd turn the program around, but yeah, I think he'd be solid. All right. Next up, Eric Bieniemy. This just came out yesterday. That apparently he had a meeting with Trev Alberts. But Trev Alberts said today you shouldn't believe anything you see on Twitter. So don't really know what's happening with Bieniemy, but he has college experience at Colorado, I believe. So he's a smart guy. I know he's a smart guy. I'm going to put him in solid just because I think he'd be solid. He hasn't coached in college for a long time. He's been an NFL coordinator. Yeah, I think he'd be solid. You're shaking your head. What do you think?
No, I haven't. Why are we
Okay.
even talking about the guy? He hasn't done anything, right? The biggest news this guy has made is when he got arrested 4 times as a player. Like,
he's the Chiefs offensive coordinator, though. He's the offensive coordinator, and he has called plays for the Chiefs.
He has not called plays for the Chiefs.
He has called plays. Andy Reid has came out and said Eric Bieniemy has called plays.
Okay, well, Andy Reid calls plays 90% of the time. And when you have Pat Mahomes, Juju, Travis Kelce, Clyde Edwards, like throw me in there. Jesus, I bet we can win some games. I don't even know why we're trying to. No, this is a terrible idea. Please don't hire this guy.
Hey, since you feel so strongly about it, I was kind of bouncing back and forth a little bit. I'll put him in Y because, yeah, it would be a strange hire for sure. So I'll give you that one. Here we go. Urban.
Yeah, this is definitely a home run hire here for sure. I have no doubt in my mind he would flip Nebraska. No doubt. 5 stars would be hitting, the runways as soon as Urban got hired to come see this guy at Nebraska. Especially once a new football facility is done, we would have some of the best facilities in the nation. We now have proven one of the best coaches ever to, coach college football. And we now have 5-star recruits, just coming in and out with Urban Meyer there. And so I have no doubt in my mind this guy would flip it around, but he's not going to. I don't see it happening. There's really no reason. He just said the other day, he said, I really enjoy just going and seeing my grandkids, and Fox analysts allow me to do that. Being a college football coach would not allow him to do that.
Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about the potential baggage that he would bring, but let's just talk straight football. This guy has turned around every single program he's been at. You look at Bowling Green, obviously terrible program, brings him to a winning program. Utah, second year, he's undefeated. Ohio State, first year, undefeated. Florida State wins championships, coaches a Heisman winner in Tim Tebow. This guy is arguably the second best. He's the second best college football coach of our generation. It's Nick Saban, and it's him, and then it's everybody else. Like, nobody comes close. Maybe Dabo Swinney comes close to Urban, but this dude has been everywhere, and he's succeeded everywhere. I don't want to hear, we saw what happened last year with the NFL, that it doesn't work out sometimes. The greatest college football coach of all time couldn't do it in the NFL. It just doesn't work sometimes. And yes, it was a dumpster fire of a situation in Jacksonville that he left behind. But you look at every single college team he has coached, they've been in conversation. Every Power 5 team he's coached, they've been in national championship competition since he's arrived. So, yeah, I would love the hire. I think too many people are taking his NFL job and his NFL success, or the lack of NFL success, too much into account, because the man's done it. The man's done it. He's gonna go down as a top 10 college coach of all time, maybe top 5. The dude's legit. And if Nebraska can somehow swing a deal and get him to come to Lincoln and coach, I'm all for it. Even if he leaves in 3 years for health conditions, like, I don't care. I don't think Ohio State is in shambles after he left. I mean, Ryan Day, one of his assistants, has proven to be just enough to keep Ohio State in college football playoff conversations continually. So, no, everything Urban's done, everything that comes with hiring Urban plainly on the football field, I'm all about. So, yeah, home run hire for me, easily. Next up, Zack Taylor. I think this is easily, this is the definition of a home run hire. Why would he leave? You know, he has Joe, unless he gets fired. He has Joe Burrow. He was just in the Super Bowl last year with one of the youngest teams ever to make a Super Bowl. If he can turn it around this year, he's not leaving. I'm telling you that. It doesn't matter that he played quarterback at Nebraska. It doesn't matter. Maybe he goes in Scott Frost 2.0, because obviously quarterbacks of Nebraska don't work as head coaches for Nebraska. But no, I
actually have him in Scott Frost 2.0.
Really?
Yes.
Explain it, because that makes no sense. He was in the Super Bowl last year.
Exactly. What was Scott Frost in the year before he came to Nebraska? Right?
There is not a chance you are comparing UCF going undefeated and beating Auburn in a New Year's Six Bowl to making the Super Bowl.
No, I understand that. How much of that was Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase? A lot of it.
Listen,
I'm not saying he's not a good coach. I'm saying he hasn't proven himself at college level. How do we even know this guy can recruit?
Sure. I think you can recruit when you've been to the NFL. I think recruiting.
How? You have no idea how to recruit out of transfer portal. You have no idea how to recruit, period. Right? You had one incredible season this year. You've already shown it. You're 0-2. Congrats. Scott Frost 2.0. It literally screams Scott Frost 2.0. You're a quarterback. You're an ex-Nebraska quarterback. You had one great season. Everyone's all high on you. You get hired. The next thing you know, you're 3-24.
Okay, so here's my question. If it came out today that Zack Taylor is leaving Cincinnati to come coach at Nebraska, you would be upset?
I'm not saying I'd be upset. I wouldn't be upset if Chris Klieman came and, coached today, but I still think he's Scott Frost 2.0. I wouldn't be upset if Dan Mullen came to coach today, but I still think he's Scott Frost 2.0. Same with Jamey Chadwell. I wouldn't be upset, but I think it's Scott Frost 2.0. I think he had one great season and everyone's all high on him, when in reality, a lot of that was Joe
You
Burrow
can't say that. You can't say that. Literally, Andy Reid had Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and they lost to the Bengals. Are you saying Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are better than Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce?
No.
So you can't say that. You can't make that excuse.
But in the same way that college coaches don't always work in the NFL coaches don't always work in college. I don't see Andy Reid succeeding that well in college because he can't recruit.
You don't know he can't recruit.
He never does. He's a great player.
He's never had the chance.
Okay, sure. His strengths are his play calling, right, and his scheming. Nick Saban, his strengths are his recruiting. Same with Urban Meyer, his strengths are his recruiting and the scheming. Zack Taylor, his strengths are seems to be scheming against the Chiefs like that. Maybe play calling and then maybe some player development. But
I think arguably that's been Nebraska's biggest fault is player development.
I understand that. But at this point, we're not going to get the guys here to develop.
I don't think that's true.
We're not going to get the Turner Cochrans here to develop, right? We're not going to get the DeCourse.
So you want to put him in Scott Frost 2.0?
I don't think he's a bad coach. I just think home run is too high. But I also don't see him leaving. I don't think he could do to the program what Urban Meyer, Luke Fickell, and Matt Rhule could do to this guy. Could do this program. I don't think so. I really don't. And he's an ex-Nebraska quarterback.
Oh. That's what we're going to do. That's crazy to me. That is wild. That's wild to me. The dude was in the Super Bowl.
I understand that. But that doesn't mean he can coach in college. Urban Meyer won a national championship game. And then he went 2-10.
It's fair. It's fair, I guess. All right, moving on. Matt Campbell. Tell me what you think.
This is Scott Frost 2.0 right here.
Is it really?
It is. All right. Actually, I have a stat. They'll tell you why it's Scott Frost 2.0.
Is it the close games?
Under Matt Campbell, Iowa State has been involved in 17 games in which the spread was either -3.5 or +3.5. Iowa State is 5-12 in those 17 games. In that span since 2016, only 4 coaches, Scott Frost being one of them, have had a worse winning percentage in close spread games.
Sure.
He can't beat Iowa.
Sure. But listen to this.
He's like Mike Riley level success right
now. Okay. That I can see. But also, there's a reason Matt Campbell is continually going to be a top name in all coaching hires because
I get it. But
what he has at Iowa State is not even close to the opportunity he would have at Nebraska. He's going to be second in recruiting in Iowa every single year. Iowa's always going to get the better recruits. Iowa State facilities aren't going to be as good as Nebraska facilities. I think Nebraska is always going to have a more talented team than Iowa State. Maybe not. Maybe the record won't show that, but I do think Nebraska will always have a better talent pool to choose from. He's proved that he can coach. He's a good coach, and player development is one of his strengths, and that is what Nebraska needs right now. I don't think he goes in the home run hire, maybe not even the Kool-Aid, but I definitely think he's on the same tier as Lance Leipold is right now, at least. What has Lance Leipold done to make him on a higher tier than Matt Campbell?
Lance Leipold has turned programs around.
Matt Campbell walked into Iowa State when they were on the same level as the KU football team. And they are consistently a winning team now.
A winning team, yes. Also,
right. No, I'm going to stop you right there. You said, no, a winning team. You agreed with me that if Lance Leipold takes KU to a bowl game,
no,
he is in the Kool-Aid tier.
Here's another reason. All right, that close game stat is one that really scares me and screams Scott Frost 2.0. He can't win close games. He can't freaking beat Iowa. Another one, let's go over the story of Fred Hoiberg here. Fred Hoiberg was at Iowa State. Fred Hoiberg was so good at Iowa State that people actually voted for Fred Hoiberg to be the mayor of Ames. He ran Ames. He then went and coached at the Chicago Bulls and didn't really have that much success. And Nebraska hired him. And they're like, this is a home run hire. Nebraska basketball is garbage, as we all know.
I would agree. That's okay. That point alone convinces me a little bit, but I'm going to keep him in solid. I think if Matt Campbell came to Nebraska, give it 2 years, Nebraska would be a bowl team, a bowl eligible team every single year. I do believe that. Maybe not.
Yeah, but that's not what I want.
Sure, that's not what you want, but you would take.
If I wanted that, Caleb, I would get Chris Klieman.
I don't know. I think Matt Campbell's a lot better than what you're giving him credit for.
Sure, but I don't like people
I think Matt Campbell. Listen, Matt Campbell is closer to Mark Stoops than Mark Campbell is to Dan Mullen, for sure.
Maybe, but I think Dan Mullen's bottom end of Scott Frost 2.0.
It's fair. It's a fair point. All right, moving on. Dave Doeren, currently the head coach at North Carolina State, where he's had solid programs. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to put him in solid. Not Kool-Aid. He's had solid programs, and he's been in the ACC, playing second to North Carolina every year, and recruiting's tough, but he's had solid enough teams. I think he would bring the program back to 9-3. I think he would really solidify. We're going to win 9 games every year. We're never going to win less than 6 games. But yeah, I mean, just hasn't really proven that he can do anything else.
Yeah, I think he's solid, and he'd always have a solid year. And I think Nebraska would just turn into Iowa.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. I don't
want
that.
Okay. This is what we're saying. I think what we're saying is, yes, we wish we were a solid football team right now, but we don't want to max out at being a solid football team. You know what I mean? I think that's what we're trying to get across. And I think hiring these guys, maybe circling this guy up here, would make us, in the conversation of maybe we can do it. I don't even want to get into the conversation of college football playoff because we have not even shown close to enough to even have that conversation. So yeah, I think he's solid. I think he would do enough to win football games, which I think is what the solid tier really solidifies. Solid. Yeah. All right. Last one, because these are just small little heads down here that I messed up on. Lane Kiffin. What do you think about Lane Kiffin?
I have him in solid. I think he's done really well where he is, but I don't think he's done extraordinarily well like Mark Stoops has, or Bill O'Brien did where he was at. But I think he's done well, and I think it'd be a good hire, and I think that we would be a solid 8-4, 9-3 team every year.
Okay. So I'm moving him up to Kool-Aid, and here's why. I would rather have Lane Kiffin than Mark Stoops. Lane Kiffin, you said he hasn't had the success that Mark Stoops has.
I'm not saying okay.
Lane Kiffin has had one losing season in his entire coaching career.
Well, okay, that's a little skewed.
It's not. What are you talking about? He's coached college football for 11 years. Had one losing season.
Okay, so we're just gonna go ahead and count his 3-2 season at USC.
Okay, just take it out. It's a winning season, but yeah, we won't count it. Sure, take it out.
Okay, so 5 and 7.
Change the fact. That's the one. That's the one.
He went 5 and 5
in his first year. In his first year at Ole Miss, he went 5 and 5. Yes,
I know.
In the COVID year. But second year went 10 and 3.
He didn't have to take over Kentucky.
He took over Ole Miss. Ole Miss has always played second base to Alabama. It's an SEC team. He took an SEC
No, I get that.
With Georgia, with Alabama on the schedule, and he went 10 and 3. He has turned Ole Miss into a top SEC team, not the top, which is why I think it's realistic that he would come to Nebraska because he's never going to be at the top of the SEC.
I get that. But he took over Ole Miss, right?
Okay, talk about Florida Atlantic. What did he do at Florida Atlantic? Had one losing season. The other two went 11 and 3.
He played in the Conference USA.
Oh, he took over USC, went 8 and 5, 10 and 2, 7 and 6, 3 and 2.
Again, he took over USC. Kentucky, that was the hardest job to take over. You're in the SEC and you're Kentucky was terrible, and they're in the SEC, and nobody even liked football there. The only one to compare it to is maybe UCLA. Nobody at Kentucky likes football. You're in the SEC.
That's not true. That's not true.
Everyone wanted. There was zero support from the staff at Kentucky. That is a fact. Look it up. Zero support.
Okay, so what is your definition of success? Because you saying that Mark Stoops has more success than Lane Kiffin is just wrong.
I shouldn't say he has more success. I think Mark Stoops is better fit for this job because he's turned around programs at the bottom.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 losing seasons. Four times the amount of losing seasons as Lane Kiffin.
I get it.
In less years. In less coaching years.
Turning around Kentucky. He's also turning around Kentucky, not Ole Miss.
I'm sorry, Lane Kiffin was the top assistant to Nick Saban. So
I get that. Ole Miss was never as bad as Kentucky was in the SEC. All right.
Florida, he's been too good for the bad jobs. None of the bad jobs are going to get him because he's been too good.
I get that. But as far as proven that you can flip rough and bad programs around, I think Mark Stoops has proven that he's better at it. Maybe that's only because he had the chance to do it, but I think he's proven he's better at it because it's what he's done, right? That's what he's built on. Mark Stoops is built on flipping Kentucky around and turning them into not a college football playoff program, but definitely New Year's Six this year. Definitely a New Year's Six program.
I don't know. Lane Kiffin is besides Luke Fickell, besides Urban. Zack Taylor's kind of weird. Matt Rhule. I would rank it just off the top of my head. Luke Fickell, Urban, Matt Rhule. Lane Kiffin is 4 for me. Honestly.
Maybe I'm too high on Mark Stoops, but Jesus.
I'm not saying you're too high on Mark Stoops. I'm saying you're way too low on Lane Kiffin.
Maybe that's true. But I just think if you can flip Kentucky, like I don't think we're understanding how bad and how hard it was. Like, it's not nearly as hard to flip Nebraska as it is to flip Kentucky.
Are we sure about that?
Yes. Because you're playing in the SEC every year, not the Big Ten West, with Purdue that loses to Syracuse, right? Northwestern that is consistently now bad. Iowa that doesn't even have an offense. Wisconsin that loses to FCS teams. And Minnesota that has a goofball for a coach. You're playing in the SEC. You're playing Alabama, Georgia.
Right. And it's not like he's beating these top teams. Yeah, he beat Florida. But what's Florida right now? Florida's not like a national championship contender.
No, but they're a whole lot better than the Big Ten West is.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Lane Kiffin. I like Lane Kiffin a lot. I like Lane Kiffin
too.
If Lane Kiffin was hired today, I would be very excited. I'd be drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak.
I would also be.
Well, originally also Kiffin in the solid tier. So are you agreeing that he should be in the Kool-Aid tier then?
Sure. Yeah, we'll put him in the Kool-Aid tier. He's definitely not a home run though.
Okay, I would agree because I think there is reason for him to leave. He's never going to win the. He's never going to win the SEC, and yeah, he's got a shot at least at Nebraska.
It seems like we agreed on almost everything.
He was born in Lincoln. Lane Kiffin was born in Lincoln. Just saying.
It seems like we have agreed on all. It seems like we have agreed on all but one, and the one we didn't agree on seems to have its own category now.
Yeah, because I kind of agree with you where I don't know where to put him. It's not like he's a proven college coach, but he went to the Super Bowl. So you can't put him in Scott Frost 2.0. That's all I'm saying. But you also can't put him in solid because he went to the Super Bowl. So, yeah. I think he kind of deserves, I guess. So, yeah, going over the tiers real quick because that was our last coach. Zack Taylor gets his own tier because he's just confusing. Home run, Luke Fickell, Urban Meyer, Matt Rhule, Kool-Aid, Mark Stoops, Lane Kiffin, Bill O'Brien. Solid, Lance Leipold, Matt Campbell, Chris Peterson, Mickey Joseph, Pat Narduzzi, PJ Fleck, Dave Doeren. Scott Frost 2.0 is Jamey Chadwell, Chris Klieman, Dan Mullen. Y is Gus Malzahn and Eric Bieniemy. Stop the share. Full screen. So yeah, that was our tier list. We will be back next week with I don't know what we're going to do on Tuesday, actually. We'll see. We'll do some sort of video on Tuesday, and then we'll do our Indiana preview on Thursday, and then back to normal scheduled content. But yeah, remember to follow the socials that are on your screen now. Always pay attention in the Facebook groups and follow us on Twitter because I'll always be asking questions, always trying to get you guys involved there. And yeah, so Zach, you got anything else before we sign off?
Nope.
All right. Well, lastly, go Big Red, and see you guys next week.